Hi, I'm Dr. Adith Venugopal, and I'm from New Zealand. I'm a senior lecturer and a specialist orthodontist at the Faculty of Dentistry, University of Otago, New Zealand. That's a very long story. So when I never got treated for braces as a kid, but I think my interest in orthodontics started pretty late. That is towards the end of dentistry. Now, I wanted to join the army as a dentist because my dad was in the army, and so we had these clinical rotations where I shadowed an orthodontist for about, say, just a month, and all I used to do is change O-rings for him because that's all that he would let me do. But I mean, looking at patients and very intrinsically, what I noticed was the subtle changes that he made every visit, which transformed to such beautiful smiles later. And then I looked at the before and after on his computer screen, and I was like, "Is this dentistry? Is this magic?" I mean, because as an undergrad, we are exposed to very little orthodontics, very little. Uh, and most of the orthodontic work goes into postgrad studies, as we all know, because there's very little that you can do in undergrad. It takes 2 years to finish a case. And so when you start seeing a lot of patients over a month or two, and what I did, especially when I started noticing patients at different stages, I went back and looked at that before and after, and I was like, this is transformational. This is crazy stuff. And I think no other specialty would come anywhere close to this in terms of transforming lives, not just smiles. It's a ripple effect ever since, and the gratitude that the patients have towards you. And this was much more than dentistry. And that's exactly why I wanted orthodontics. And I knew at that moment that I wanted to be an orthodontist. Orthodontics to me is just as important to me as my family. Because as long as I remember, I've been an orthodontist, and it's been about and as most of you wouldn't know, where I am from, we don't need the 2 years of general dentist experience to become an orthodontist. So for me, it was like undergrad, straight away becoming an orthodontist, and then all my fellowships and PhD in ortho, and working as an orthodontist. So basically, all I know is orthodontics, and it's been a very, very important part of my life. And I think orthodontics to me has given me just more than passion and work. Especially, orthodontics has given me a chance to travel around the world, and as a speaker, I get to travel across different countries, educate, share my knowledge with different people, and listen to their stories. And I think uh, it's much more than just income and braces for me. I think it's given me a chance to travel the world, give me the chance to take my family and travel the world. And the best part was me traveling to Jamaica early this year. And it was something that I'd never dreamt of. But then yeah, me and my family made that trip, and we stayed there for about a week. And it was a fun thing, educating people across the world. So orthodontics to the society, now I can talk in different perspectives because I'm from India. I've practiced a lot in Cambodia, and now I'm in New Zealand. So I think it depends a lot on the place where you are. I would say in South Asia, the uh, the idea of orthodontics is basically straightening teeth. And now, over the recent years, I think the people are more educated towards understanding what orthodontists really do. It's not just straightening teeth, it's much more about the face than just the teeth. And I think the younger generations across all nations are more educated in the form of thanks to social media, thanks to Instagram, thanks to their influencers, and more so. that they actually know much more about orthodontics and what it does and why it is important. So they come over at the age of say 7 or 8 and start their regular follow-ups. I think it's changing mindsets as well, and uh, I think they perceive it as a much more important thing than what they used to previously. Previously, it was much more optional, but I think nowadays the parents and the children, they are perceiving it as something that is mandatory, and then they come for the regular checkup starting 7, 8, 9. Even if there is no problem, they would want their kids to get checked by an orthodontist. So uh, I think it's improving. Yeah. That's a wonderful question. So most people don't know that I've played in a band when I was in the Philippines doing my master's over the weekends for pocket money. And yeah, and I used to sing on one of the radio channels back in India. And I love playing badminton and squash, and I've played junior nationals in badminton and squash for India. So that's kind of an achievement, and I think yeah, if there's something I'd like a little more, love a little more than ortho, would be playing squash and badminton. Yeah. I personally had, I mean, it wouldn't be a case per se, but then when it comes to two things, that is molar protraction, canine substitution, I think they're very hard. Very unpredictable, I would say, across different ages. So, I mean, especially with lower molars, when you have those first molars missed, you need to protract the sevens. You have some knife edge bone, you have some thin ridges. It becomes very, very hard, especially when implants or prostheses are not an option. Mostly because the uppers are over erupted and they take away that space. You don't have enough bone to move the lower molars up. You tend to tip the second molars much more than what you would expect, even with all the good mechanics that you would want to use. You tend to dump the lower incisors while you're protracting them. So there are a lot of iatrogenic effects and side effects that go into molar protraction. So I think molar protraction for me would be uh, very hard. And nowadays I move away from protracting molars much more. Uh, so I would prefer prosthesis over there, but again, it depends on the age of the patient. It depends on the severity of the malocclusion that goes wrong with it, because sometimes you have a beautiful class 1 malocclusion, perfect overjet, perfect overbite, and you just have that molar space to close, and you know that in that process you might spoil the entire occlusion and then create another iatrogenic effect. So one needs to be very careful and think about the pros and cons of what you're doing. I think molar protraction for me would be the hardest. Yeah. Okay, so I think for me, it would be in-house aligners. Now, I'm for and against it. So I have a lot of people who love in-house aligners, who are very fascinated with in-house aligners, especially with the new and trending graphy direct-to-print aligners that have come in. Obviously, before that, we had plastics being printed as well with Zendura and other things. But for me, it depends on the kind of practice you have. For me, I don't think it would be a viable option because number one, it's New Zealand. Workforce is very expensive. Everything is expensive. So, I mean, it's not possible for you to just have your own lab, number one. And number two is you need a technician. You need more than a technician to just get everything sorted out in terms of your lab work. Because it's not just printing, it's polishing, cleaning, packaging, all those things. So you need workforce, and workforce means money again. So you need to pay them separately for that. Number three is that I think the orthodontist should delegate this work to a lab rather than do it themselves, because it takes away considerable time of off clinics, in the sense you're not spending chairside time, but you're spending lab time. And you're gonna design the models, you're gonna design the wafers, you're gonna print them out, and you would end up doing things. So yes, it would be cheaper, but then at the same time, you could see another 20 patients, is how I feel. So I think in-house aligners has been a game changer, obviously, for those people who have exclusive aligner practices, who have a lab besides them. And I think it's a wonderful option for those people where workforces are cheaper. But I don't think it's a good option for me. I think that's been a big change in orthodontics since I've started. I wouldn't even say aligners. And another thing happening right now is the plastic revolution, and all about microplastics and nanoplastics. And I'm working a lot on it from the research point of view, especially over here. It's one of my pet projects that I'm working on. And I think, yeah, so uh, that's plastics in general, and the effects around plastics would be another game changer. I think we're going to move on. I think it's going to come one full circle. Number one, we're going to fancy fixed metal braces much more than anything else. I think the aligner fad is going to reduce. I feel that we are going to move away from plastics, and I feel that in the next 10 years, we're going to be able to develop a good biopolymer, which may be obviously sensitive to biological tissues. Uh, Maybe, and that's a prayer, that maybe we would be able to move away from BPA and plastics and microplastic leaching, if that is possible. Yeah, but I think 10 years research, we may find a material which is a good biopolymer. With JCO, it was Neil Kravitz. So he one fine day messaged me and said that, Adith, I want you on board. Because I used to post a lot of cases on social media. And I think Neil picked up those cases from there, and he felt that probably um, I had the capability of possibly editing a few papers for JCO, and that's why he contacted me. And I think it was one of the best investments that I've made as well. So JCO means a lot to me. I mean, from the time I was a resident. In fact, this was probably one of the only journals that I used to read because this was so clinically oriented. And I remember going to the library and getting all these bunch of JCO issues out over the weekend and over weeks and just reading them because there are so many things that you learn from JCO. So JCO to me has been with me from the very inception of my orthodontic career. So I mean, yeah, it's a very long relationship that I have with JCO. I think JCO means direct clinical useful tips. So when I speak with orthodontists and residents and I tell them about the JCO, they're like, yeah, with JCO, the best part is I'm able to take this right out and use it in my clinical practice right away. And that is the kind of papers and pearls that come out. So, and I think there are many people in the profession who do not have a very sound understanding of research methodology and design. And so when it comes to, I'm not saying that they're not to be read. Obviously, original research, prospective research, randomized controlled trials, they're the gold standard for evidence-based dentistry. But making sense out of it is not easy for people who do not have a very strong backing of research, design, and methodology, especially. So from a very general aspect, I think many of us are clinicians. Most of us would be clinicians and would want and have private practices and would want to immediately use and for example, they're stuck with a situation, and they could just go on to the search bar and then put in, for example, say molar protraction, and they would find the list of papers with molar protraction, which are case and clinical oriented. So they would just go immediately look at pictures, understand what's happening, and use it in their clinical practice. I think that is where JCO helps the profession much more than anything. So I think JCO number one, is a very robust peer-reviewed journal. I think I've got rejected most by JCO than any other paper, any other journal. And and I think the quality of the peer review is outstanding. For the papers that have been accepted and the peer reviews have been completed, I've received very, very solid peer reviews, and they've been very harsh, but I think they have enhanced the quality of the paper considerably. Now, as compared to social media, there's no comparison. I mean, social media is not peer reviewed, and yes, you can flatter yourself by putting up cases, number one. Or for people who want to see those cases, again, as I mentioned previously, there is no evidence backing it up. It may work for one, it may not work for 10. And if reproducibility is not possible, then there is no point in using a technique. I mean, if I'm putting up a technique, it has to be reproducible. It can't just work for you. So the thing is that with a peer-reviewed journal like JCO, you have quality reviewers, experienced reviewers who are gonna tell you whether this is possible, this is innovative, this is useful, because they have their experience backing it up. But when it comes to social media pitches, I mean, I have been a part of it as well. So it's like, if something has worked, you may want to show it, but that is only for the experienced. So if you have experience and you see something on social media, you can make sense of it and you can say, okay, fine, this is nice, this is interesting, we can try it out. Now, the problem is with the residents, because you see, this is a social media world and age. So you have residents on social media, on Instagram, looking at all these influencers in dentistry and orthodontics, and then they keep posting these pictures. Now, they do not have a sound knowledge yet, and they immediately start trying these things. And I've seen a lot of cases, especially where the canine is so ectopic, so high, and they have a power chain pulling the canine directly down from an implant, and that canine just rotates and comes out of the bone, literally. Because there is no mechanics, and it may work. It may have worked for that particular person on social media, but it's not something that's reproducible because the amount of side effects that are that go around with it, it's crazy. So you need to have a lot of logic behind accepting the truth or accepting something on social media. But with JCO, you don't have to bother much because you know that it's hard, robust, peer-reviewed stuff that you're reading. So it's obviously reproducible. I loved the recent articles by Hugo de Klerk on the TAT-supported Herbst appliance, part 1 and part 2. And I've started using that a lot in my office. So I think my latest learning, that is, would be those two papers. And because especially in New Zealand, I don't know, as most of you would know, the major malocclusion is class 2 malocclusion with a retruded mandible. And obviously surgery is one option. And in growing patients or in adolescents, as Hugo de Klerk says, it's a possibility that you could probably reposition your mandible. And so yeah, I'm trying that a lot, and I think I'm getting good results, but I'm still waiting for the superimposition to look at what condyle changes actually occur, or is it just positional changes. But as of now, I think the results are working out pretty well. So that's been my latest learning. I love the Pearl section. The Pearl section is like direct pick and use section. So that's wonderful. Oh, for all the reasons that I've mentioned now, one should subscribe to JCO because primarily it's a clinical-oriented journal. Number two, it's peer-reviewed, and the quality of the papers that come are phenomenal. Number three, you could directly reproduce whatever you see has been done on patients to get similar results. So I think that, and as a resident, you get to see a variety of cases that you may not be able to treat because of the demographic zone that you are in. So obviously, like in New Zealand, you don't have many class 3s. So you would see cases which are treated, class 3 cases which are treated with different mechanics. And so that would give you a good understanding that just in case when you come across a class 3, how you go about it. So I think for these reasons, you need to subscribe to JCO, and more importantly, it's not very expensive. So I think it is $245 for online subscription for a year, and I think that is very affordable in today's age. So I think it has everything in a package for every orthodontist, and I think that's why you need to subscribe for it. This is very general. This has nothing to do with ortho, but what I think now is, you see, everything in life is temporary. It's all. I mean, I especially, I as a person used to be influenced, and I used to take everything so seriously. When something bad happened to me, I used to just go down under the blanket, feel bad for like months. But now I feel that what's going to happen today is not going to stay tomorrow. So it's all momentary. So if something goes wrong today, if you make a mistake today, yeah, people are going to kill you for it, but then they're going to forget about it. They're going to forget about it in like 20 days. They're going to move on, and things are going to change. So you're going to have your high, you're going to have your low, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and that's life. So never take anything too seriously. Just move on, learn and move on. I would say do not get influenced by all the new trends that you see, even if big names are associated with it. Because at the end of the day, something that is very concrete would need a thorough research and development to come and back it. So if you do not have that, if you don't have evidence, I don't think just going and trying it as of now would be a very good option. So I see a lot of things, and I've done that, especially let it be brackets, let it be wires, let it be instruments, let it be whatever. So it was the FOMO effect for me. So I just didn't want to miss out on something. So I just went and bought that. And later I feel that I've just bought so many things which I don't use anymore. And probably they've not benefited the patient in any way. So which comes back, I mean, the same thing. So sometimes the more orthodox is better, easier. At the end of the day, I think what's the key in orthodontics is trying to make less mistakes in order to save time. Because orthodontic treatment duration that we write in our treatment letters may be 24 months, but it's usually 6 months, plus or minus 6 months, and it's usually the plus 6 months. That's because of the iatrogenic effects that we cause. So not everything that we plan goes on and exactly manifests. So there are things that we do create side effects and iatrogenic effects. So the best thing would be to get a very sound biomechanical knowledge in order to reduce the iatrogenic effects, and in that way speed up orthodontic treatment. So it's not about making the teeth move 2 millimeters a month. It's about making it move just the 1 millimeter the proper way and not round tripping. So I think getting a good evidence-based practice, taking things slow, and at the same time trying to strengthen your biomechanical knowledge would be very, very good for a start. For residents, I think I would be the exact opposite. For residents, I let them try a lot of things. I, as a resident, had a lot of things to try, because if not here, where? You can't go and try things on your patients because they pay a lot of money, and you have a lot of obligations, ethical obligations, right? But in the university setting, in the postgrad setting, you have supervisors to take care of things, and we are responsible for the patients. So under the gambit, under the biological principles, I would want them to try a lot of techniques. I would like them to try a lot of appliances. like class 2 correctors. I want them to try the forceps, herbs, carrier appliance. I would want to let them to try a face mask, headgears, different everything, so that they get an experience of almost everything. Because I don't think in the real world scenario they would be able to do any of this. They would be fixated to one kind of bracket, and they would see a lot of patients, so they would not get to try all of these. Now, probably in a clinical session, they see maybe 4 or 5 patients in 3 hours. And I think this would be good enough time for them to try, do a lot of things that they would never be able to do. So I think the best, not obviously, apart from the reading that they do, question your supervisors as much as possible. Don't be afraid of them. And number 2 is you should try almost everything that is available to you on patients so that you learn something out. I like Kravitz's pull. I mean, especially when it has the one with the separator and the O-ring, and we have the composite button that we make. I use that especially because I intrude molars. When I intrude molars, that is using TADs, I've especially found that the power chain usually slips and goes into the embrasure area a lot, and so I think Kravitz used it in a different context though. But then what I do is I do the same thing on the occlusal surface of the molar. So I mean place some etch bonding agent, primer, an O-ring, and then flow composite, and remove the O-ring so it has a mushroom composite button already made. And then you have the E-chain going from the TAD over the composite button onto the other TAD. So it kind of locks the power chain exactly where you want it, rather than it moving and slipping with occlusal forces, bite forces, and going into the embrasure area. So I think that's something that I love and I use very often.